Okay, so we are live for the first time on Drawing JackRabbit. So today on the show, I have guest starring with me, the wonderful Problembeing,
Hello.
the infamous Tardis Zone, and the lovely but sadly unwell Melina. So today we're going to be talking about what we personally would love to see in the upcoming RTD era, what we love about his previous one, and how we think he should make changes towards his new era that would better the show, and just so what I'm going to do first is give you each about 10 minutes to get your individual points across. Then we'll have a little bit of a chit chat, and we're going to try and be quick. Try not to go over an hour with this stream, because if so, I'll probably have a panic attack. So without any without any further ado, I haven't scripted this, as you can tell. So let's get into it. So we're going to start off with the lady, obviously, because I'm a chivalrous pig. So Melina.
You sexist person, you.
Oh,
No,
so
that's
Melina,
what.
what would you love to be in the new RTD era?
Well, I would love for to go back to reincarnate to Peter Capaldi. That would be a great start.
Yeah, if you can't tell by her avatar, she's a huge fan of Peter Capaldi.
That's lie. That's made up lies. Nothing to do with it. Um. Oh gosh. Okay. Seriously, what I want is just to go back the way it was before. I mean, it's obvious I'm not like against romance, but I don't want it to be the main thing, because the difference is that it wasn't just a rom-com like, like it is right now. I also want I just want to have fun again. I just want to have that feeling um of looking forward to the episode and not get disappointed and just thoroughly enjoyed it. Are there gonna is it gonna be perfect? No. But there are things that makes up for it. Nobody liked Love and Monsters, but
Uh, no, sorry, I did.
well, generally speaking. But what makes up for it is David Tennant, the chemistry with him and Billy Piper. Um, so those kind of things that you make up for. So that's actually what I want. And say what you will, I don't care. But I want a male doctor. I don't care what anybody says. I'm not interested in female doctor anymore. I was at the beginning when she was casted, but I want a male doctor. I just That's what I want. And I also want Murray Gold to be back, and just make it fun. It's just fun. I miss the excitement. I miss the fun. I miss the that feeling, the emotion. I miss crying. I haven't cried since Peter Capaldi left, and I want those emotions back. Because Doctor Who made me feel so many things. Made me feel sadness. It made me feel anger. It made me feel happy. And this era has been nothing but that. Not It's just disappointment, and that's what I want. And I know that Russell is gonna bring all those all that back, and that's what I want. Just a good sci-fi TV show. It's all what we all want. Yeah, that's it. I'm gonna lay back down now.
Okay, so yeah, I think that's what all of us want. We just want Doctor Who to be popular again in the public eye. We want to see merchandise in
Uh-huh.
accessible shops, so you don't have to, fight scalpers or hoarders. We want the show to be accessible. We want the DVDs on the shelves again, and we just want it popular, I think. And I think RTD had a way of making it popular in his first run. He made it so that it appealed to all, and we're hoping that he can do that again. So since we've had Leon before, I think we're going to go next to the infamous but very, very kind and charming Noel from the Tardis Zone. So go ahead, Noel. Let us know what you think and what you want from RTD's upcoming era.
Doctor Who. Simple as that. I just want the show to be written and to be respected the way it has been up until the current era. I just want them to go back telling good stories. And I mean, if you look at RTD's first run, you can see that the man knows exactly what he's doing. So I actually have no worries that he's not going to write Doctor Who well. He will. It'll be whether this era's damage can be forgotten. There's a certain amount of fans out there that just will not move on unless the timeless child nonsense is retconned. But there's a strong indication that RTD is just going to do his own thing and ignore it anyway. But unfortunately, that's not going to be enough for some fans out there. Look, be under no illusion, he has the hardest job of any showrunner right now.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a fandom that's divided and fractured. You've also the public and media critics. Their opinions are miles off. So I mean, I put up a video a few weeks back to show the contrast between the media and fans when I did the Rotten Tomatoes video. You can see during the first 4 seasons and the specials that the consensus between fans and media was actually pretty close. They all agreed that it was good. But if you look at the Chibnall era now, you can see that media and fans are miles apart when it comes to rating and talking about this show. But RTD, what do I want to see from him? Well, I want to see some new stuff from him. I don't want him to go back. I don't want him to see. This is my only worry, that he comes back and then he tries to repeat what he did back in 2005. He can't do that. That's not going to save the show. Something radical has to happen with this show now. And I think that's what he actually has planned. So, look, all I just want, it's simple. It's all fans have ever wanted. We want to be able to sit down Saturday or Sunday night, whatever it is, sit down and actually enjoy Doctor Who and then have healthy discussions about it. And, to not look, as I said, I never wanted, Lee never wanted, or anybody out there that has complained about this era, never wanted to go on and continue the passion for 4 years. But the problem is that we haven't been given anything to actually share about. So, yeah, that's the job he has on his hands. He has a tough job to
Your audio's gone there, Noel. Your mic's gone weird.
It's gone tomato.
Your mic's gone weird. I couldn't hear what you were saying.
Hold on. Audio.
It's working now.
Yeah.
Right. I thought it could be my internet. Look, the internet's been playing up. But look, bottom line is this: he has a tough job. But if anybody can actually make Doctor Who a success again, it's him. And if you look at some of his stories, he has proven that he understands not only the Doctor, but understands how this show must be written. And that's the key thing that Chris Chibnall couldn't do. He doesn't understand the show like RTD or even Stephen Moffat, So, yeah, look, at the end of the day, we've got one more story to go. I'm buzzing. I can't wait until we hear who the new Doctor is. And I think we'll get that announcement either next week or the week after, but it's definitely happening. And as soon as it's a male Doctor is announced, then that's when the fun begins in the fandom, because you know what's going to happen from the other side. But we won't bring that up because we want to keep it positive.
It is positive.
But let's just say the shit is going to hit the fan when a male Doctor is announced, because I think it's dead certain now that the male Doctor is going to regenerate into that spacesuit. And I actually think it's going to be David Tennant's Doctor that's going to regenerate.
I did want to mention this a bit later on. what we think about that. Obviously, it's not 100%, but I think that would be the obvious move to make because Tennant will bring people back. I think he's the only. I love Capaldi, Melina loves Capaldi, but I think Tennant was solidified in the public opinion. And I know from college and university, I've spoken to many people and they say, oh, I watched Doctor Who back in the day when it was Tennant. He was my Doctor, he's the Doctor I think about. After that, it kind of fell off a bit. That's what I get from most people. So I think obviously bringing Tennant back alone would definitely get the ratings up. But before we get onto that, I just want to move on to Lee and just ask real quick what he would like to see from RTD's new era.
Yeah, I'd like to see. I'd like to see him take a few explorational, not risks necessarily. I think we've had enough risks lately. But I'd like to escape planet Yorkshire. I'd like to escape planet Council Estate. I'd like to see more of the universe. It's a big place, and hopefully now with the Sony backing, the budget is going to be there to make it look spectacular. And obviously, RTD has the skills, and will hire writers who have the skills to produce some excellent stories. And fundamentally, I think, sort of away from the clutches of the BBC diktats, having writers who are experienced writers or writers who have proven track record, not political playwrights, none of that kind of stuff. As I think all of us agree, we just want fun, adventurous stories. We want science fiction. We want fantasy. We want escape. The thing is, the sort of modus operandi of the current thinking is that we need to see reflections of ourselves and of the current day in our entertainment, especially in our science fiction shows. And it's like, well, science fiction always reflects modern day. Anyway, that's the whole point of science fiction, is to show us where we're going because of what's happening current day.
I think what science fiction does better than anything is it takes education. It takes education and makes it fun. To the point where you don't even realize that it's education.
Exactly.
The
greatest science fiction is actually stories that do reflect our current age, but it does it in such a way that it uses allegory and other methods in order to reflect us, but not on the nose. The whole point is to make it sort of under the radar, to tell a story that we can relate to, but set years in the future or on another planet, and using allegory and things like that.
I have to say though, Lee, I do agree with you that we definitely need to get out in space a bit more. But I think what I loved about RTD's original era was he always had that kind of place to come home to after the action. When you're tired, exhausted, you're beaten, Jackie Tyler would always be waiting at home. And
it's like an anchor point.
Yeah, I always love that, and I hope that I really would like them to do another kind of Pertwee kind of unit thing where it wouldn't be trapped on Earth like he was, but he would have something to come back to when the TARDIS is maybe running a bit low. Because I always think Doctor Who has, even though you can go anywhere in the universe, it always. I don't know if it's ironic, but some of my favourite stories have always been the Earthbound ones, and I just wanted to know what you thought of that.
Yeah, I think where Chibnall went wrong with that is, and to a lesser degree, RTD's first run, I think, because it was very much focused on the council estate, and that's fine to start with, and it does speak to a lot of people, and it sort of removes the kind of middle class kind of shtick that Doctor Who is associated with. So I can understand it to a degree, but it needs to evolve and develop and not just be specific to...
One thing I picked up on with RTD's first era is Series 1 had a lot of Earthbound stories, and then Series 2 it was kind of 50-50, and some of those stories were in a parallel world. Then Series 3 took it even further by having sort of, yes, there were a lot on Earth, but they were in different time zones. you know, and then series 4 went completely into space. Like, you had Planet of the Ooge, you had The Doctor's Daughter, then you had the Library 3-parter, and then Journey's End is all over the place. It's all over the Shadow Proclamation and stuff. So he did go more and more into space as his era, you know, he started off very grounded on Earth, you know, but then he kind of gradually began to tuck it more and more into space. And then when Moffat took over, he took it even further into space. We saw things like, you know, just off the top of my head, you had in The Good Man Goes to War, that kind of ship. You had entire legions of Cybermen and Daleks all on spaceships in space, you know, and that's what I noticed. It did go much more, because when we got into Moffat's era, we hardly ever seemed to spend much time on Earth at all. Like, that's just what I picked up on. And when
I think you need a balance.
Briefly. Yeah,
you need balance, but I think there's, because what I was kind of getting towards was, for the last few years, particularly, we've been very stuck on Earth, planet Yorkshire, I call it. You know, which is fine. Episodes, you know, certain stories require it, and you know, it's fine. But I think with a more sort of bigger budget, you can afford to go off onto other realms. But what I was kind of getting at was, when you're stuck on Earth, you're kind of, what the classic Who, when it was done on Earth, was it focused on very sort of grounded scientific events, you know, or major catastrophes about to happen, or if it was in a mundane area, it was.
Well, I think that's what Chibnall tried to replicate.
It was offering something creepy. It made the everyday creepy, but it's really kind of lost that. It's more become sort of using it to push certain, you know, modern day.
We won't go.
Yeah, I know, but I mean that's kind of, I kind of want to get away from that now.
Yeah,
we need a bit of escapism,
and we need to stop doing.
It's fine as long as we have something creepy, you know, and not modern day politicky about it. Just something that's creepy and fun, you know.
Yeah, it's like, if you want to do Earth, then do something that's not like, oh, this specific historical event, because, you know, I get it, it gets old, you know, the kids don't really want that. They want something cool, like maybe do Earth after an invasion, and the Doctor has to go back in time to ensure that those events don't happen, or something. That might be a cool idea. I know it's been done before, but I do think seeing stuff like that might be cool.
A bit like Army of Ghosts, and what was that episode? That
Doomsday.
Two-parter, wasn't it? Army of Ghosts and Doomsday, where the Earth is already basically being invaded by these. Yeah. Well, they think they're ghosts, but they end up being Cybermen. Yeah, I look. I agree with you all. I think there does need to be a balance. Chibs obviously went a different direction with it, but he was never. Look, and the reason why he did, people need to understand this, and I won't bang on about him too much, but people need to understand why he did that. He did that because he knew he couldn't write the sci-fi stuff. Because when he did, we got things like the Thing, a talking frog, all of this other nonsense, right? He can't write science fiction. This was the biggest problem with him getting this job. He just cannot write science fiction. Whereas RTD can multitask, actually. He could do the science fiction, but he can also hit you at a very human level with these characters.
Yeah, like, Midnight.
Midnight. That's one of my,
because what I love, and
favorite David Tennant stories.
It's entirely character driven, but it has all the sci-fi in there. You've got an alien world, you've got a mysterious creature, but it still feels down to earth.
It does, because you've got the humans inside it, and you can see there's tension, and even, you know, you've got the old professor telling his student, you don't know what you're talking about, and all of this, and there's a bit of conflict, and then they all turn against Sky because they think she's being possessed, and then they turn on the Doctor, and then that whole moral dilemma: would you actually drag them out and kill someone?
Yeah.
That was the whole point. But that's what he's good at. That's what, and he could combine the science fiction into it. Unfortunately, the showrunner that we have now, yes, he's great at the human side of things. Well, after this era, I would actually have to say he's probably damaged his reputation there. But before that, if you watch, for example, Torchwood, he does very well in Torchwood. It works well in Torchwood because he didn't get bogged down in the sci-fi. It was more.
He worked better under the guidance of.
Well, he did have RTD there, in fairness to him. But in saying that, Lee, the reason why he was successful with that was because he played to his strengths. Like Torchwood, it became after Gwen Cooper entered the fray. She was a cop. Right, so what happened to Torchwood then after that? They start investigating, whereas Captain Jack's whole mantra was, well, we're just going to clean up the scum of the universe, but we don't care if someone's being murdered. We're not going to investigate. But she changed them in that way, and that's when Torchwood, and that's when Chris Chibnall played to his strengths. He's good at detective stuff, right? This is what I can't understand. Why didn't he do that with Jodie Whittaker's Doctor?
Yeah, he should have. This is what I've noticed, actually. RTD seems to be kind of a mentor to these other writers. They all seem to play to their strengths when they're under his guidance. Like you say, Noel, when Chibnall's under Russell, he played to his strengths. When Moffat was under Russell, he wrote the scariest, most traumatic stories I've ever watched. And
I would argue RTD, Moffat under RTD was better than he was as a showrunner.
Oh, absolutely. That's my view.
Yeah, and I think it's the same with Chibs. Even though, look, Chibs' stories, even for the RTD era and the stories that he wrote, are piss poor. And this is what I can't understand, how BBC or whoever the powers that be that made that decision thought he was the right man. Listen, if you didn't know what to do with the show and you were considering putting it on hiatus, I guarantee you if you knew now
it'd be in a better shape
and you went back through time and you could make that decision again, I reckon they'd put the show on hiatus. That's what should have happened.
It would be better for it.
Because I was actually thinking about that, and that was something I did want to touch on, is how do you guys feel about it going from the Chibnall era straight into the RTD era, or would you rather there be a little gap, or would the break?
Well, there is going to be a gap, because we're going to get the 60th, and then it's going to be at least another year before we get his Series 14. So there will be a gap. There will be a gap. So I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about it.
Gap as possible, but what I would have done if I were the BBC, God forbid, I would have put those 3 specials out in short order and got it out the way and given some breathing space and build up that momentum again. Allow things to sort of settle down. Allow things for fans to kind of have a breath, take a breather. Let the general audience forget about what's happened, and then gradually start building up all the the background stuff and the new Doctor, the new castings, the new logo, and try and rebuild the excitement and momentum again. But going straight from this almost straight into the next era just feels it's going to be quite jarring. Maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. But
I think, Lee, though, if you look at it, right, you've got to look at the state of the fandom now. You've got to look at the state of the viewers. They're probably thinking, or RTD's thinking, or whoever made the decision to kind of do this straight away. I think they've probably looked at it and said, look, it's make or break now. If they put it on a break, on a hiatus, then very quickly, right, interest would be lost, because this would be, obviously, Whittaker's episode would drop, the centenary is over, and then if they went on a break, then I don't think, I'm going to be out straight with you, if the show went on a break after the centenary, right, and RTD wasn't taken over, the show wouldn't be coming back ever again. I don't think, not in my lifetime. I don't think Doctor Who would be back on screen.
Chibnall pretty much said that, didn't he? Well, Stevens or one of those two in an interview, didn't they say something like...
until RTD came in, they were actually going to shelve it. And Gary from Neurotics actually reported that they were going to shelve the show. But RTD came in the last minute and said, no, here, listen, I'm willing to take it on and give it another go. And as Moffat said, it's great news for Doctor Who, but it's also great news for Doctor Who fans and the wider public, because They love him. They love him.
Yeah.
Look at It's a Sin, years and years. Those shows that he's done since he's left Doctor Who. Him right now. He is. Look at the way I put it when it was announced he was here, right? That he was coming back. He doesn't need Doctor Who. Doctor Who needs him. Right? He doesn't need to do this. He could have just walked away and let the show die. But he's a fan like us, and he didn't want to see that happen. So he stepped in, and now he has a plan. So in a way, I'm grateful that he has come back, because if he didn't, I don't think, Lee, we would see Doctor Who again in our lifetime. And to be honest with you, I'd be gutted for that, because I know this era has been bad. It's been 5 years of hell for fandom, for the show, for the ratings and everything. But let's be honest, you know, this show brought us all together. Strangers on different sides of the fucking Earth planet. Like the Doctor, you know, Verity Lambert, they would be proud how far this show has reached out. But then for him to come in and do what he's done, and to basically, and look, I'm not saying he did it on purpose. He didn't. But he just wasn't good enough. And this is the result.
I just want to make a disclaimer, guys. If any of you watching, because I know some of my subscribers do like the Chris Chibnall era, and if you do, that is absolutely fine. You know, we're just what we're trying to do with this video is just kind of build excitement for the next era of the show. But I think regardless of what opinions we have, we can't deny that the ratings have gone down. There is factual evidence out there that you can see, and you know, you don't have to take mine, Noel's or Lee's or Melina's word for it. You can go and actually look, you know. And if you're still watching and you still enjoy it, I wish I could be you. Honestly, I wish I could see you with the show.
I'm very jealous. I've said it a couple of times that I'm actually very jealous. I wish I could have that excitement that these people have. I am not joking. Like, I don't wake up every day thinking of ways to hate this era, thinking of ways to dislike Jodie's Doctor, thinking of ways to dislike Chibnall as a writer. I don't do this on purpose. Like, how many times, y'all might witness, how many times have I said, I want to like this, I want to like this, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm scared.
That's what I said when I was coming in, because I started watching Bowles Trek, you know, very close to when Jodie was coming, and I just remember saying, like, I want to go in, I want to ignore all of the, because it wasn't just him who was spreading negativity, but quite a few people were, and I wasn't as educated, or like I didn't understand what all the social.
Well, it wasn't negativity though. I wanna kind of correct that, because it's always perceived, I'm not saying from you, from others out there in the fandom and the media, that we've been negative about this, right? But you look at what's happened since. We were right to be negative. Listen, we're fans of this show, some of us for a very long time, right? We know the ins and outs of this show. We know what is acceptable to do and what isn't, okay? It's not negativity. The bottom line is that a female doctor was brought in after 50 odd years of having a male role with no explanation of why they were gender swapping the role. And then we found out then very quickly that this was going to be a political issue with inside. And I'm not going to get into it because you said no politics, but I just want to mention it has become.
No, I was an innocent little teen. I didn't understand politics. I never wanted to get into politics. And I'm sorry, I wasn't aiming that at you.
Oh, no. I'm just explaining. I know that's what I said. I know you're not saying that, right? But that is the perception, right? From the media and from fans of this era, that we've always just been negative. But we could see this coming a mile away. When Jodie Whittaker did her first interview, that was it. It was game over. Yeah. It was actually game over when that interview happened.
I remember
she did the Stylist video then, right, straight after, where she's mocking fans, right? That was it. It was game over. I knew what the show was all about. It was all, they were going to make it a political thing, and that's exactly what they did. Now, you said you don't want to get into politics, so I'll leave it there. But that's what it became. It became a political thing. It became all about our gender. Right? Yeah. And I'm not playing a role. She says, I'm not playing a role. I'm not playing a gender. She says, was the thing coming out of her mouth. No, you're playing the doctor. The doctor happens to be a man. And if you have a problem with that, well, then adios. And I'm sorry. You say, I don't mind if you're a fan of this era. Fair play to you if you are. right? But to me, it's not Doctor Who,
But
right?
look,
It's Doctor Who in name only, right? If you enjoy this version, that's perfectly fine. But if you're asking me as a Doctor Who fan for a very, very long time, right? And we've had bad times through the 80s, this is worse.
Yeah, you just get beaten up if you said that.
I actually
This is
quite
worse,
like
and
80s.
I'll leave it there. But this is worse than the 80s. This is how bad it's gotten. So look, I don't think it's the media. I'm not saying you paint us as negative. I want to make that clear, Jack. It was the media that did. Anybody that had a problem, this is what they said. Anybody that has a problem with a woman taking over the role is a sexist bigot. And then that tagline stuck then for the last 5 years. They're the ones that drummed this up, and then the fans of this era then, actually, by the way, someone put up, start saying that we should treat 13 Doctor fans better and not treat them like pieces of crap and dirt off the shoe. Did you see the post? And
yeah,
I
responded to it.
I replied back, and I turned around and says, hang on for a minute with the gaslighting. It's 13 Dr. Tazzies and Jodie stands that have abused and bullied fans, long-term fans, and anybody that has ever said anything about this era, whether it's the Doctor's gender or whether it's blah, blah, blah. Right? Don't be gaslighting. You're the bullies. I'm sorry, not the people that are on your channel. Obviously, they probably don't engage in that, and I want to make that clear. I'm not having a go at anybody that likes this era. I'm having a go at the people that have liked this era but have attacked fans, and that's bang out of order.
It's
you don't
unacceptable.
attack someone
we're not going to go into that because I just feel like you talk about them, you attract them. So let's just
That's true.
Well, it doesn't matter. They've tried to get rid of me for 5 years and gone nowhere, and they don't like what I have to say. Well, then all I'll just say is this: you don't have to watch.
It has to, you have to bear in mind that a lot of this animosity started purely for criticizing the story or giving it a fair shake, watching the first few episodes and willing it to be good. And then when I came out after 5 episodes in, so the Surungo, whatever, conundrum, and I was a part of a Doctor Who group there, and I wasn't rude or impolite. I was just I was disappointed. I didn't like this. The acting was this, and the story was that. I didn't swear. I didn't make a scene. I just put my opinion out there, and suddenly I was told by several people to get out of the fandom and to die of cancer. I mean, that's a bit extreme.
Yeah.
And that's when people like us went off and found each other, and it's like more like
that's great. And I'm just going to get onto that if I finish my point. Sorry, Noel, if I did that, but I just when I said negativity, I didn't understand. I didn't have the perspective I have now. And when I said negativity, it wasn't that I disliked or disagreed. I just kind of wanted to go in without a bias. I wanted to go in and try it for myself, and then I experienced it, and I found myself agreeing with all of the people who were cautious, who were unsure, and that's obviously what brought me to you, Noel, and what got me to your channel. And I think it's the rest is history. But in reaction to your point, Melina, yes, I think I've forgotten what it was.
What did I say?
What did you say?
I don't know. What did I say?
Oh, damn it. I think we just want it to be positive again, really, with RTD coming back. And I think we just want to hope that, fans can get along again, and I think what I don't want is I don't want it to be a sort of like, oh, you liked the Jodie Whittaker era, you're this, that, or the other, and you can't come on.
Everyone. It should belong to everyone.
It should, absolutely.
It shouldn't just belong to old school fans. It shouldn't belong to RTD fans. It shouldn't belong to Jodie fans. It belongs
for
to
everybody.
The public.
Yeah, because it was a show for everyone.
Social class, income, whatever. And this is important because it has become a very niche, very protective group of people who want it for themselves, and it's all about themselves and about their representation. They've seen themselves on screen all this time.
And their ships also. Their ships.
I mean, shipping has been ever since Twilight, right? That's basically.
Yeah, I've been shipping since I was 9 years old.
Look, shipping has been going on in fandom for a long time. The problem isn't the shipping. right? The problem is
Espérate.
when you get a showrunner like Chris Chibnall that
Este nene no
decides
me
when his
deja
ratings
hablar.
go
Yo
down
estaba
the pan
tratando de hablar
to
algo y este
pander
nene
to
no me
these
deja
people.
hablar.
Like, do you
Mira,
know what I mean?
estoy
That's
hablando.
my problem. If you're going to talk to me, can you speak English? Because I don't understand Puerto Rican or whatever you're speaking.
Because no me deja hablar. You don't even
Yeah, well,
talk.
well, say something to me. You don't
Pero
have
tú
to,
no me
to
dejas
talk over me.
hablar. No, you talked
Guys.
over me.
They're joking.
Okay.
Mira, I
I'm
was
still new to all this.
saying que yo, the shipping thing. I been a shipper since I was 9 years old. I've been reading fan fiction since I was 9 years old, and I am a huge shipper. But it's the romance thing, the shipping thing. It has to make sense within the plot. It has to be integral in the plot. I'm like, and depends on the show as well. Like, okay, a good example is Xena, Warrior Princess. Like, I love the relationship between Gabriel and Xena, and it was a building relationship. It started with a deep bond, friendship, this deep love that they had for each other, and it wasn't just like, oh, we're lesbians, nothing like that. It was just like they loved each other intensely, and it became a romantic relationship. That was the build up, right? With between these two, but it didn't stop being the show what it is, which is a kind of like a, like a sci-fi-ish TV show. It didn't stop from there. So
But it's true to Gina's character because she was a lesbian character, and I think that was always meant to be that way. But
she slept with, she loved men. She had sex with a lot of men.
she's a warrior woman, Prince.
And
Yes, she's a
she,
warrior.
and same
Whoever
with
she was.
Gabriel was, she was married, and she also had her men, but it wasn't like it wasn't, the point is that it wasn't like a lesbian thing, like let's label them as lesbian. It wasn't like a yas queen, they're lesbians, they're here, they're queer, they're here to stay, nothing like that. It wasn't like a political thing. It was just like, it was love, it was pure love, and I loved it. and
Yeah.
and when I'm going here with the shipping what subject here, that I don't see that at all with 13 and Jazz. There's no development in that way, nothing like. And I'm saying this with Madame Vastra and Jenny. Why? Because in the show they're two women, right? So it's not like, oh, you're being homophobic or anything like that. It has nothing to do with it. It's just there's no character, there's no romance developed there. And I speak as a person who loves romance, but this is not a rom-com. If you're gonna, it's you can't, I mean, you can't, how do I say, depend solely on the shipping for it in this show. I love Rose and I love 10, but I didn't watch Doctor Who because of Rose and 10.
No, we watched
That
it
was,
for the monsters
we
and the
watched it for,
adventure.
exactly, like for me as a shipper it was a bonus. For me it was a bonus and I enjoyed it, but
Yeah.
everybody enjoyed it because why? It was actually well done, and then it still didn't take away from the show, which is, like you said, it's an adventure. It still didn't take away from it. um and in this one it's like, it's trying too hard. Now, I, again, people who are listening, I have no problem with Jodie fans. I have no problem with the Dasman. That's what I call it. I don't have no problem with Chibnall fans. There's a difference between fans and stans. Stans are like the obsessive ones. The stans are my problem because
Yeah.
you say something of a critique, and then all of a sudden they just jump on you and they insult you in the most nastiest way, like they did with Lee, like they did with what's his name, Noel, like they did with so many of us, especially the women. And it has nothing to do with that. I think we have a different point of view, and it's only it's a respectful point of view. It wasn't like, oh, it sucks and that's it. We have our views and our feelings towards it. But the shipping thing, it's getting way out of hand. It's getting
Yeah.
really annoying. And again, I repeat 100 times, I'm speaking as a mega shipper. It can't, you'll need to like seriously calm down. It is getting ridiculous.
I think the problem with it is when you look at the classic Doctor Who, you can't really market that character as a shipper with a straight face, can you?
Mm,
Because he's more of a father figure, and I always thought,
right.
and I know you, Noel, you're not fond of the idea of a romance, and I thought personally what would be a great thing for Russell to do, and it would be a nod back to his era as well, would be for the new companion to almost kind of make a move on the Doctor, and the Doctor to be very distant, like, no, I don't do this. And he opens a drawer and he pulls out a plastic rose, and you just get Rose's theme playing just for a few seconds. You get that piano, and it reminds him, and then he puts the rose back in the drawer and he closes it as if like, no, I'm never doing that again, because it leads to heartbreak. It was irresponsible of me, and I've moved on. And I think that would bring the character back to that more, asexual kind of friendship relationship, which I think most people want, without at the same time stabbing the people who love romance and stuff in the back.
Right.
It would kind of bring it to a place where it's like, so the Doctor doesn't want to do it because it causes pain. And I think it'd be a very mature way to do that.
Yeah, I agree, actually. I agree.
Yeah, so I just wanted you guys'
to
opinions on that. It was just something that I thought of.
I'm dying. Yeah, that's what I actually agree. Like, I think the point is Doctor Who is for everybody. It's not just for shippers. It's not just for one specific minority group or whatever you are. Like, I'm Puerto Rican. When are they gonna add a Puerto Rican companion? Or when are they going to travel to Puerto Rico? That probably was never gonna happen. I'm not gonna die for it. It will be a bonus if that happens. Like, I'm not gonna lie. I'll be very happy, very exciting for that. But I'm not gonna, just be disappointed and die from it. It's still a show for me. It's I still feel like like, how do I say, like I belong,
Yeah.
It's still a good escape for me.
I think what was nice about it is it maintained a sort of quintessential Britishness that was attractive to the rest of the world, because it's like when you watch anime, it has a very kind of Eastern kind of vibe to it, doesn't it?
True.
Yeah, and that's what you love about it. And just like when you watch things like Harry Potter, Doctor Who, it has a very British vibe about it. When you watch things, American sitcoms and dramas, they have a very American vibe about it. And I think when you try and take that away from Doctor Who, you're kind of taking away a part of its identity. So I think that's something that Russell needs to do. I think it's nice to include other characters from other cultures. I think lots of people want a companion from a different time, don't they? Like Victoria Waterfield, and maybe a companion from the future or something, really shake things up a bit. But I think, in my opinion, the Doctor should remain British. He is an alien British gentleman. I think if you take that away, you don't understand the show at all. Even the fella who did the TV movie that was American made understood that the Doctor needed to be British.
Guys, I don't think we're broadcasting.
Well, no, I said that ages ago.
No,
I told them we're not even live. I've checked these channels, so I don't know if this is actually even recording.
You've got two live things. You got RTD2, and then you got JackRabbit podcast number 2, RTD era episode 2. One says 1 hour ago, one says 2 hours ago.
I don't think you could put it up later on. No, that's the thing, because I don't think you have a setup that way, because you had a setup for live. You didn't have a setup as a record. See, as I said, you don't have the record button there. And you were supposed to put as I said, you ignored the time. I said it to you, you needed to put in the time to let everybody know when the live stream was happening. That's how it goes up on your YouTube channel. It's not up on your YouTube channel.
Oh, shit.
So we've been talking for 44 minutes, and I don't think anybody is going to get to see this stream.
I'm sorry. I should have been laughing.
Anyway, getting to this shipper thing, because I just want to say one thing. I'm sorry, but for me, and I know Melina is a big shipper, but she's not overboard with it, and that's fine. But for me, this was the one fault of the RTD era, was to introduce a romance between the Doctor and keep it the classic Who, right? I know they did it in the movie, but the movie doesn't count, right? Keep it the classic era. Didn't have the Doctor in a romantic relationship, and it lasted long enough without that, right? New Who, they didn't need to do it. They didn't need to do it, but RTD decided to do it, and that's why we're in the position that we're in right now. Now, the Yaz shit, I do have a problem with those fans, by the way.
Hold on. Wait. No. We just started. We're now broadcasting live.
You're kidding.
Oh God.
Oh,
You're kidding.
Right, hold on. Let's check. Are we live? Hey, folks. We're after being talking for 45 minutes, but we're live now.
Yeah, we're live now.
Anyway.
Correction, Will has been talking for 45 minutes.
No, I haven't been opening my mouth because I got given out to there a few minutes ago. Like, cutting across, even though like I was still in mid-flow, but there you go.
Do you want to start, or do we...
You're just in time, guys. You're just in time to see me quit YouTube.
No, he's not going to quit. It's just technical difficulties because it's his first time doing a stream like this. So bear with him, folks, okay? And he's doing his best. And, for him to do a stream like this...
We'll set this stream up again for another time. But being as we're live, we may as well talk about something. So, I've got 2 people watching. Hello to you 2 subscribers who are probably going to unsubscribe after this.
There you are. Yes, we are live now.
Oh, I see it now.
Right, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Pretend we just started. Say hello and blah, blah, blah. Nobody's seen us. Hello.
Hey, all you bunnies out there. Oh, someone's left. I understand.
Jack, relax, man. I'm going to get you loads of people watching now. Right.
It's all right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to a stream which has been going for 46 minutes. Not being recorded now.
But we weren't live. So we were literally talking backstage, thinking we were live for 46 minutes until everybody realised we weren't live.
Any idea how composed I've been for the past hour?
And fair enough, I have to give it to him. You've missed him. Jack has been on a roll here. He's a great presenter. So let's give him a big up. And like and share and subscribe, folks, yeah? Right, go on. Tell them what the topic is anyway.
The topic today is... Okay, hold on, deep breaths. The topic today is what we hope will be in the RTD era upcoming. So this is going to be a continuation of the first little stream that me and Problembeing did. And we're just going to be telling what we personally would like to see in the upcoming RTD era. Is it okay? Is it coming through okay?
Yeah, it's grand. That was me. That was my fault. Sorry, I'm just trying to share.
On the panel today, we have the one and only Problembeing, the lovely but sadly sick at the moment Melina.
Oh, wow. Good timing.
Quality. Well, hey, don't die.
She's very brave being here. I've practically drained her, and none of this has been recorded, so I feel terrible. And we have the infamous but really, really charming and one and only Noel from the Tardis Zone.
Hey, folks! You've missed the last 45 minutes, but you know what? We'll say exactly what we said the last because it was easy. We're only talking positive things, so like, share, and subscribe, yeah.
So, oh gosh,
start with Melina first, ladies first.
Ladies first. So, Melina, I'm very sorry to do this to you again, but what would you like to see in the RTD era?
I had a big up to Jack. I love him.
I thought you were going to say something else there.
Just stuff and things.
Stuff and things. That's what we all want to see when we look at the screen.
Right, now get our serious faces on. Go on, Melina, tell them what you're looking for.
Serious face? I have a sick face.
Well, have a serious sick face and get on with it.
Right, go on, get on with it, yeah.
You did so well, Melina, honestly.
Yes.
I'm really sorry.
Technical issues.
Would you like me to start first, Melina, so you can compose yourself?
Start. You've been talking for 45 minutes.
No, I haven't. You're the one that's been talking. I haven't been able to get a word in, and then when I do, you give out to me.
Oh my god, that is such a lie.
All right. I'll don't worry about it. I'll go ahead and talk.
Go ahead.
You're welcome. So what I want is, and hello again, everybody. What I want is I sound like I smoke, but I don't. What did I say?
What do you want from the
Oh,
RTD?
yes.
Yes.
I want him to go back for what Doctor Who really is. It's an escapism. I want adventure. I want monsters. I want to feel things again. I want to feel sad. I want to feel the anger and emotion, like happiness, things that make me feel throughout all his era, and yes, and even Moffat's era. Um and I just want to look forward to that adventure, and I want to relate to the Doctor again.
Mm.
I really do. And I speak as a woman, myself, that I don't need representation. I mean, all I need is a good character to relate to root for also. And it needs to go back for when it was. And I did mention romance. I love romance, but I don't want it to be the center of it at all. I want it to still have its adventures. Like it's not a rom com. It's still a sci-fi TV show, and I don't want to be that the main thing. Um, excuse me. What else? I mentioned so many things I can't remember right now. Nothing. I just wanted to be good again. I just want to be excited again. And as a person who loved everything that RTD did, everything that Moffat did, like I was in a bubble. I was in my own little bubble of happiness that nothing was, bursting through. Like I enjoyed every single episode, even the ones that are bad or considered bad. So I want to get back inside that little bubble. I really do. And and enjoy it completely. And for, I know you said no politics, but as in the politics aspect of it, I never mind the politics. I mean, Doctor Who always had a political theme, but make it good. Make it, make it how do I say?
Something everyone can get behind.
Exactly. And not just like how do I say, not just for one group, it's for everybody.
Yeah.
And make Doctor Who for everybody. Doesn't matter what part of the country you're from, what do you identify yourself as, or whatever. It needs to be for everybody. And Doctor Who needs to bring back these fans that sadly myself, Noel, and Lee have been casted out, and others have been casted out because we think a little differently, or because we have different views and tastes.
And because just to put in something, Melina, sorry.
No problem.
For those of you who are watching, whether you are for or against the Chibnall era, that's absolutely fine. But I'm having Melina, Noel, and Leon because they're my friends. They support me. They're great Doctor Who fans. They're such lovely people to talk to. And if it weren't for them, I certainly wouldn't be doing this and mess it up like I have done. And I probably would not have even started YouTube. So, they gave me a voice to talk. And, I don't consider myself to be a political person. Well, I'm starting to kind of realize, actually, it's politics can be a bit much. It can ruin your enjoyment for things. But I enjoy talking to them, and I enjoy having them on because they are Doctor Who fans. And, whether you agree or disagree, I think it would be nice for us all to enjoy the upcoming RTD era, whether you've liked this era or not. We want to build excitement for the upcoming RTD era. That's what we want to do. So I'm having my friends on. I consider them my friends. I'm having them on just because I want to make a great stream. And I've mucked it up so far, but for what little we have left, we're going to make it great.
It was a dress rehearsal.
Yeah,
fine.
it was. It always good. It's the first time, guys. It's always so. I think so. Melina, is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah. Just that it's not for me, it's not essential. Like, it needs to have a woman, or it needs to have somebody, how do I say, quote unquote non-white character. Like, I'm not against diversity at all. And one thing that I enjoyed of the RTD era is it had a little bit of everything. It really did. And I enjoyed it. But it's not just that. He made good characters out of them. He made them essential in some way, part of the story. They had a purpose, they had a great character development.
They weren't just there.
They weren't just there, and that's something that a lot of people don't understand. As a Latina woman myself, like, like I said, I mean, that I wish, I really wish, but just for the heck of it, I really wish for the Doctor to have like a Latino companion, or to visit like more Caribbean places, you know, just have that different variety. But I'm pretty sure it's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna die over it. I'm not. Still, it doesn't stop me from enjoying Doctor Who, because it still feels that it is for me. It is still an escape, and it gives me the fantasy that one day the Doctor is gonna appear here. Most hopefully Peter Capaldi will appear, and it was just gonna take me away to these adventures. It doesn't matter what part of the country you are in. It's that feeling, because you know that it is the message is to you. It is for you, and that's what I want to feel again. I don't want to feel segregated. I don't want to feel like I'm not part of something because I think differently, and it doesn't matter. It's the point is that it's for everybody, men, women, between whatever you are. That's it. I'm done.
Amazing. Thanks, Melina. No, your opinions will always be welcome on this channel, and Noel's and everyone's. Just, you know, and it's right. You know, I think RTD can do that. I think he's shown that with his previous era, and I think he can do it again. So, Noel, we'll move on to you next. And I'm sorry you have to do this again.
No, it's fine. As I said, while we were off air, look, we already know what RTD brings to the table. Have I completely gone? What's going on here? Okay, I'm looking at myself on fucking YouTube. It's distracting. Sorry, I'm knocking myself off there. There I am. I'm back. Right. Yeah, as I said the first time, look, we all know what RTD brings to the table, right? But I do want to see him do something new. Now, Lee did mention something off air, obviously, when we were talking the first time about taking risks, and, you know, Chibnall has done that and it hasn't worked out. I don't mind RTD taking risks once it's, you know, he keeps within the narrative, does what Chibnall failed to do. Look, do I have any worries about RTD taking over the show? No. I know that we're going to get some decent Doctor Who, but he does have a hard job, because, as I said earlier, the fandom is fractured, the ratings are rock bottom right now, and, you know, all of this nonsense that Chibs is doing for his last couple of episodes could actually, you know, make things a lot worse before they get better. And be under no illusion, folks, Doctor Who is about to get a lot worse before it gets better, because we still have one more story to go, and that story is going to be absolutely, I won't even get into it, but just put it this way. Glad he's back. The GOAT is back as far as I'm concerned, and we're only a couple of weeks away from knowing who his Doctor is, and I do believe it will be a bloke, and roll on what happens next. But look, I've no worries about him taking over. We were talking backstage, did it need a little bit of a break before he took over? I made the point, if you remember, that I don't think that would have been a good idea, because if they do put it on a break, I don't think it would have come back. And to be honest, if RTD hadn't stepped in the last minute, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about Doctor Who getting a serious 14 or even a 60th. Imagine they would have shelved it before the 60th. If RTD didn't take over, there would have been no 60th. That's what people need to realise. There would have been no 60th if RTD hadn't stepped in. Or we would have got one, and it would have been under Chris Chibnall. And look at what we've got off him so far in the specials. So it wouldn't have went well. But I've no worries. I'm actually excited to see what happens. Obviously, there'll be a couple of announcements made in the next few weeks. So roll on the RTD era. You know, I mean, we're still in the Chibnall era, and they're promoting this guy now. I think it needs to be done.
Yeah.
I don't think they can hang around anymore. I mean, the last episode, right? Even the other side now, and without getting into it all, but even the other side now are coming out and saying they can't even defend the ratings now. Well, you could never defend the rankings in the first place.
Well,
But the
before
fact that
before
you're coming out now and saying you
Yeah.
can't defend the ratings is laughable to me. And that's why Melina is laughing, because it is. It's a joke. We've been saying this for 5 years. Why didn't you listen to us? You wouldn't be in this state. But there you go. Look at me. The short answer is, Jack, I'm excited. I cannot wait for the RTD era to start. And you know what? We're finally going to get a show. We're finally going to get the show back, right? But the main thing that Melina said is that, and I agree with her, right? And this is the mistake the Chibnall era made. The show must be truly for all fans, right? So this tagline, space for all and inclusion for all, that this era flogged, they didn't. But that's what RTD must do. But he did it the first time, and you'll do it a second time. And so as I said, I'm excited, I'm delighted, and I'll hand you over to Lee because I've said what I had to say.
Awesome. So Lee, you carry on from there.
Yeah, I think we're at a stage because we've been burnt for so long. It's a cautious optimism. I can't stress that enough, because I think a lot of people have drawn a very, very straight line in the sand, which is, Timeless Child is very much on most people's minds. And Chibnall's really got one episode to tie this up, and hopefully he will address it himself. I think kind of has to, for the longevity of the show, because it lacks verisimilitude, right? It lacks authenticity. There's ways of adding to canon without detracting from it, and I think that has been a very divisive. It's been a very divisive. No one can deny it's been a divisive time for Doctor Who. What I would like to see is to kind of move on from that now. Ignore it or change it. I'm at this point, I just want good fun adventures. I want to see more of the universe. I want to see new monsters. I want a good fun space romp through time and space, and get away from planet Yorkshire, get away from planet Cardiff, get away from planet Council Estate. I know that's very much where RTD's strengths are, and it's relatable. I get that, but at the same time, to be too rooted in reality, the point of science fiction is to reflect our time using allegory, not on the nose modern day trends. And I think that dates the show. Doctor Who works best when it's on Earth, when it's creepy. It makes the everyday dangerous and weird, and that's always the strengths of an Earth-based story. So have that mixed in balance with good, new planets, new monsters, and things like that.
Just as he did really in his first era.
Yeah, I mean, you can have social commentary in there. That's fine, and you can have politics in there, as Doctor Who's always had. But it needs to be a morals or moralities tale. It needs to be done with nuance. It needs to be
like I said, as I was not broadcasting, sorry guys, but I said, what's great about sci-fi is it's education that doesn't feel like education. And children love that. They don't like being hit over the head. They don't like being lectured to. It's like, I know from personal experience, education's more fun when you get to, do things in a much more playful way rather than just sit there reciting meaningless facts, and I think what's fun about sci-fi is when you're a kid, you don't pick up on the commentary, and then you realize as an adult, and I think it's good for that. It doesn't alienate anybody. And I just think that's what Russell needs to do. Yeah.
See, here's the problem. I just seen a comment in there. I just want to say something. It's not having a go, but you're saying woke political garbage. Yeah, the Chris Chibnall era certainly is, but the Moffat era wasn't. Well, to a certain extent, near the end, it was kind of starting to shoehorn in. I'll admit that, but RTD has always been woke. See, again, this is where the lines have been blurred now. Everything RTD was already woke and progressive. You just need to go back and watch his era to see that he was woke and progressive. The difference is that he was able to incorporate whatever social issue or agenda that he had. Story came first. And the characters that were to represent certain minorities in the fandom were given character development, right? They were given a decent story arc. That's the difference, right? Nothing has changed, right? It's more progressive now. It's a different type of woke, right? But to claim that Doctor Who has never been woke is the biggest bloody laugh and joke that I've heard.
Well, hold on. I would say, I would say there's a difference between woke.
That's what I said. There is a difference
and being liberal.
Right.
And I think Doctor Who has always been a liberal show. And this is why I find the argument that all of a sudden people have been watching Doctor Who for all their lives and have enjoyed it and celebrated it and been a fan of the show. When Jodie Whittaker and Chibnall turned up, all of a sudden we were these evil bigots and sexists. And it's complete nonsense, because we've always loved Doctor Who, because it's always espoused a very tolerant and liberal mindset in the stories, and we're always on board with that. That wasn't the issue. The issue is, obviously, if you just take away the story and the characters and you just put in messaging and political points, it removes the enjoyment and the allegory that science fiction is good for using to show a mirror to our society, to our world. And that's where Doctor Who's strength always has, is to show a mirror to who we are. And Doctor Who is us, that's what it represents. But it does it in a way that it doesn't bash you over the head, and it's trendy politics.
Yeah.
There's balance to it as well, Lee, isn't there? There's a balance as well. Like, if they're going to do...
Don't forget Terence Dix. Terence Dix said in an interview for the BBC years ago, before he passed, sadly, was, if you're focusing on the politics, you're not looking at the right aims, and it's the first thing that suffers is the characters. The next thing that suffers are the stories. So you really need, if you're going to put politics in there, you need to make it as part of the story, not the story itself. And that's the key difference.
What I'm going to, so we've all done what we think, haven't we? What we want for the upcoming. So I'll just throw mine in. What I want is back to the days when I could look at, when I was a child, and I'd be mesmerized by what I was seeing on the screen. Like, I'll never forget when I saw Dalek. It was just amazing. And I want great monsters, I want great stories, and I want great characters. And I think, Melina, like we said, that's what we all want. We want adventure, not just predictable, dull, bashing us over the head with stuff we don't care about. So I think, if I'm saying anything, I just want Doctor Who to be Doctor Who again. And because I might be a little biased because I grew up with the RTD era, but I just think I would love that, but better. Obviously, I don't just want him to tread old ground. I want him to go off and do something different, and I think he will. And I wanted your opinions. Do you think RTD has realized that, he's doing this for the love of Doctor Who now, and not for any kind of, I want to show that I'm better than you?
Well, he wouldn't come back. He wouldn't come back if it was that. He's coming back because he loves the show. He look at, no matter what the other side say, Bad Wolf Productions actually on Twitter did something very interesting. So shortly after he was announced, there was an article, and the headline said, "RTD back to save Doctor Who," and Bad Wolf Productions actually retweeted that tweet. Right? He's back because Doctor Who is in serious trouble. He's back because he loves the show. He's not coming back because he needs this, as I said. He doesn't need Doctor Who. He's on a high right now.
Well, I was just going to address that. I was going to address it before when we got railroaded, but
Sorry,
he does need it too. He does need Doctor Who because
how does he need it?
Because it's his legacy. Because he brought it back,
right?
And because he brought it back, to see it dissolve as it has been, as it's been sort of depleting audiences, that's his legacy. So he kind of does need to come back in a way to rescue it, because if he doesn't, that's part of his legacy that's been tainted.
But I don't know if but okay, you have a different opinion on that, saying that his legacy is. I don't see his legacy being tainted.
I think that's why he wanted to come back, to make sure that he doesn't want to be associated with failure.
Yeah,
because everything he touches has been successful.
Yeah,
and he started degrade.
Well, he might feel some responsibility to come back and try fix it all. I'll agree with that, but I don't. I can see where you're coming from, Lee, right? And to a certain extent, I think you do make a very valid point. Maybe that is his motivation. He probably thinks that his legacy is being destroyed and Moffat probably feels the same as well. But I think he's coming back because he truly believes he can do something special with this show now. And yeah, that might be in the back of his mind, but I don't, seriously, mate, I don't think he does need Doctor Who, but I do get your point, and I'm going to say that to a certain extent, I agree with it.
Right, so in relation to this, the big question I wanted to ask is, do you think that RTD can make himself known enough to regain public interest? Because I've spoken with many of my friends at college and university, and their favourite was the same as me. It was RTD's run of the show, and I've been going around saying, well, he's coming back, and and all that, and it's like, oh, I might have to check into it again. So it's all just like, we know as fans, but do you think that he can do enough to regain the public's interest?
Yeah, simple answer, and I'll leave it there. I have that confidence. Yes, he did it before. He made this show a global phenomenon. Then obviously Moffat came on board, and then it became bigger even again. He did it the first time. And people that have made this argument, I have seen this genuine argument, that are saying that RTD is not known by the markets abroad. I use on his last few shows have been shown all over the world.
Well, if that was the case, Sony wouldn't have bought a controlling share of Bad Wolf.
Exactly.
It is that association. It is, and that's a Japanese American.
So, in your opinions, then, how do you think he should market this? Do you think he should do a sort of, hey, remember me? I wrote this era of Doctor Who, like maybe do a trailer just looking at what came before, and now this is what's coming now?
You bring back David Tennant or a big name that you need to grab the attention. The American audience has dwindled down to just over 200,000.
Yeah.
200,000. It used to be like 3, 4, 5 million in America. Now it's down to 200,000.
Exactly.
So he needs to grab that audience, and he's a very good communicator. He's a very good
storyteller.
Well, storyteller, but also a marketer.
Yeah.
Like Moffat was very good at that as well. Better than showrunner, but he was good. He was like an arty, like a JNT type.
Yeah,
I think very good at marketing and getting the global market. I mean, if you look at the height of Doctor Who, really rode on what RTD built, but Moffat really sort of rode on that, and he was very good at marketing it. So I think RTD knows what he wants to do. I think he's kind of taken a few cues from Marvel, which is a bit worrying for me, because I think the whole multiverse thing is a bit of a gimmick and a bit of a tired.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But I can see where he might want to go with that by opening up to other shows that are tied in. But
I just hope that it doesn't lose that Doctor Who charm, because I think you've got all the modern sci-fi, and it all kind of can get a bit. I don't know how to word it.
Keep it very Americans.
Keep it very British. See, I already said all this shit when we weren't recording.
Someone says don't pander to America. I think that has been the biggest problem with this show over the last couple of years. Actually, is there be more focus on the American market than the British market. And the problem is that whether they like it or not, Doctor Who's a British institution. It should therefore be, look, the reason why I watch Doctor Who, believe it or not, I'm an Irishman, right? So I watch Doctor Who because it is very British, especially the RTD era, the Union Jacks everywhere. It was very British, and that's what makes it unique. It's like Star Trek, it's its own thing. It's very American. Imagine if a British company came in and decided to do Star Trek. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. I think there has to be less look, if you're going to promote in America, you promote it the same in UK. And if you're
Moffat really, really betrayed the British audience a lot by everything. Was like
a lot of excuses.
All the Comic Cons in America, they all got the previews and the things first, and that really annoyed us.
I disagree because it's not. It's just it's Doctor Who. That's the thing. It shouldn't be just for. I mean, no disrespect.
Well, I'm not saying it should be just for British.
But either. I understand it's the Brit. Okay, it's the British Institute. But
I think it's like how we discussed.
It's the cultural impact. No, you're fine. Just quickly, it's the cultural impact as well. Because one thing that there's nothing wrong. I mean, remember when Moffat did the world tour with Peter Capaldi, Jenna Coleman? They went to Brazil, they went to Mexico, they went to South Korea. I can't remember where else they went, but they went to these places, not just America. Because that's the thing. It's a traveling TARDIS, and it can go anywhere. And it's nice that it went to America, and it's great too because Americans love it, and it's the cultural impact of the English culture.
Yeah, I think it's like how we spoke about Melina.
But there has to be a balance.
Yeah,
that's
I think
the problem, Melina. There's no balance.
It's what I mentioned when we weren't recording. It's like it's wonderful to get the show out there, but I think your culture and many other cultures love it because of its quintessential Britishness. And I think you could take the show to all different kinds of places, but I think you have to keep the Doctor British, and you have to have that Britishness about it. It's like Wallace and Gromit.
I agree. Yeah.
Wallace and Gromit are loved because of their Britishness, just like anime is loved because of its Eastern, mythology and stuff like that. It's like everything has a specific feel, and I think it's wonderful that the show goes around the world. That's great.
Yeah, I agree. There just has to be balance. Stop giving exclusive. Look, if you're going to give exclusives, you give exclusives to your whole audience.
Oh yeah,
not just give exclusives. Because that's what we're talking about, Melina. I don't care. I'm glad that it's a global phenomenon because it makes the show better for us. You know what I mean? It keeps it alive. The problem is that Stephen Moffat Lee is absolutely right. He did betray the British audience because he gave the American audience all the exclusives,
and we were paying for it.
You know what I mean? And that's the problem. Exactly. British people are paying for it, but the Americans were getting the exclusives, and that's wrong. Give everybody. If you're going to do an exclusive trailer or an exclusive little piece, you must air it to everybody. Everybody, not just one market. And that's what Moffat did.
The worst thing he did was there was this Blu-ray set for series 1 to 7, and in America you got a sonic screwdriver universal remote, a comic book, even some these special kind of art cards things. British version, you're paying when you equate pounds and dollars, you're actually paying more, and all you get is the Blu-rays. You don't get any of the extra stuff. And I'm like, excuse me, what country is this show made?
That's the point. Exactly, Jack. But you're right. That's the point. That's all I'm giving out about. I'm glad that Doctor Who reaches everywhere. Puerto Rico, even Ireland, England, as far out as South fucking Africa to bleeding Australia. I love it. But the problem is that, and this is what RTD will get right, by the way, when it comes to promoting this era that's coming up. He will make sure that no fan and no member of the public out there that is interested in this will be left out when it comes to exclusives and stuff like that. He's been very good, He was always very good at that. But look,
Well, actually, I don't know if you know this, Noel, but in the action figures, they used to do Comic-Con exclusives. Back when it was popular, there would always be a UK version of it. So
Wow.
yes, if you were in America, you had to go to San Diego Comic-Con to get them, but then they would always do an unnumbered version without the Comic-Con sticker to go in UK retailer, which was usually Forbidden Planet. So they were still accessible. You know, and as I said, I can't wait. I'm hoping if the show kicks off again, the action figures, you'll be able to go into Tesco's and buy them. You know, that's what you won't have to fight scalpers or all try and drive around the country to all these different B&Ms to try and find the set you want.
Sure, we don't even have those stores over here. It's very hard for me to get any Doctor Who figures or stuff like that, or even cheap. Like, we've got a Forbidden Planet here. I went in one day to have a look. The Doctor Who merchandise, now I'm not just saying this, I've reported on this plenty of times, but the Doctor Who merchandise in Dublin alone, in the comic book stores that I used to go to, is non-existent now. It's mostly, I will say this though, it's mostly RTD and classic stuff that sells in Irish comic book stores, but none of the current era stuff sells at all. I actually had a word with your man that was running Forbidden Planet, and I just says, look, how is the Jodie Whittaker merchandise doing in your store? And he says, we just don't bring it in because it doesn't sell.
Well, I was at a store near where I live, and it's a store that sells stuff that hasn't sold, basically. Reclaimed stuff, I guess, end of line stuff. And I went in there, and everything, apart from a Tom Baker scarf and a couple of a one Peter Capaldi figure and a Clara figure, everything else was Jodie Whittaker.
They are doing comic books for the older Doctors, I've noticed, but I've heard they're not that great. And I have actually been in Forbidden Planet, and I thought, a 7th Doctor comic, I might want to pick that up. But then I think, it's probably the writing probably isn't that great. And there was a David Tennant mug, and I was just like,
Get the David Tennant mug.
Yeah, I've got like several of them at home anyway, from like back in the day. But no, as I said, if you guys like the Jodie era, that's fine, but we're just hoping that the next era will be more successful.
Look, I've never had a problem with anybody liking the current era. Melina hasn't. Lee hasn't. All of us that have been.
There was this great fella in my comments, and I made a bit of a snarky comment in my toy video about how, they're doing another 13th Doctor set, I get to save 22 quid. And he in the comments, he still commented, and he said, I'm looking forward to it and everything. And I was just like, I was just like, that's great. I'm looking forward to the sets, and we still got to talk, and that's absolutely fine. I love fans that are like, you've got that opinion, but let's talk about the Doctor Who we do like.
Exactly. It'd be much better if we focused on what brings together and what things we like, rather than just constantly focusing on the differences.
Listen, guys, if you're desperate for a review on the 13th Doctor set, I'll wait till it comes down to about 2 quid, and then I'll buy it and review it out of.
Look, the toys are probably great. Unfortunately, they're connected to an era that simply isn't, whether you like it or not. And there are people that do like this, but if you look at the numbers, like the last episode got 2.2 million in the overnights. Now, if you were to actually analyze that properly, live, that means less than 2 million people watch live. I would nearly go as far as to say that about probably just over 1 million people had tuned in to watch Legend of the Sea Devils. Now, if that's okay and that's successful, and you've got to look at it, the overnights for the Woman Who Fell to Earth were nearly 13 million. So you've got to drop off. You've got a drop off of over 10 million people. So this excuse, TV habits have changed. Well, when are those 10 million people going to turn up and watch the show? You cannot deny that this show's ratings and the audience has walked away. I mean, you can't. The excuses are done.
I suppose this is why I'm making this video. I'm thinking, can RTD turn this around? It's what we all want. It's what I want. And
I believe he can.
Yeah. And I think we all want to be very optimistic. So we're going to finish up in a few minutes. Obviously, I've really messed this up, and I really
No, you
apologise to you
haven't. Will you
guys.
stop? Listen. I want to say something. You haven't messed starting up yet. We were talking 45 minutes before you realised we weren't live. But you've gone live now and you've handled yourself well. Don't be putting yourself down. You've done a great job.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Thanks.
And that's
I
coming
really
from someone that's
appreciate
been doing it for 5 years. So when I tell you you're doing well, believe it.
And
You're
I
doing
know
well.
there's a lot of you guys who are subscribed to my channel for toys, and you're probably like, what is he doing? So I will give you a quick toy right now, which I have right here in my hand. It is the
What have you got?
NECA Cyborg Predator.
Oh,
which
that's lovely.
a review will be coming of it soon. So yeah, he even has a little sword in his
Oh, look at that. That's impressive. Don't give that to Cheryl. She'll probably bleed and stab me with it.
It has the
Oh,
little
that's
cannon
lovely.
which pops up and pops back down. He had a bit of a dodgy leg, but a bit of a hairdryer and a twister. There's a whole video on my channel about why NECA can really mess up sometimes. That you have to use hair dryers and things to get the joints to work. It's just not on.
You can't fix a sunken ship. RTD has no chance of fixing the franchise. I disagree.
¿Quién dijo eso?
I'm just gonna
I
say,
do. I have
say,
to disagree.
Cosmic Yog, I really appreciate you. You give me a lot of love and support on my
Yeah, I'm
toy
not having a
videos and
go. I'm
everything.
just saying I have to disagree because it's RTD. Listen, if it was anybody else coming in, I would agree with you 100%. I don't think there's
Yeah.
a chance. But because it's RTD and because he successfully rebooted it in 2005 and it became a success, I do believe that he can pull the same trick off a second time.
I agree. No, I'm going to continue Noel's thoughts in here and opinion. I'm not having a go either. But listen, when I started watching Doctor Who in 2010, 5 years later, when it was how do I say rebooted or not rebooted? How do you
Well,
say?
Moffat took over, you mean?
When Moffat took over. Now,
Yeah.
I started watching Doctor Who because if people who don't know me, 2010 I started my how do I say my major in films and TV production, and I was studying, I think was TV production, and I major in communications, and my professor, his name is Alfredo Riva, one of my favorite professors ever. He is a huge fan of Doctor Who, a huge fan. And we started talking about the how do you say the writing styles and whatever, and different genres. So he mentioned sci-fi, he mentioned Star Wars and whatever, and he mentioned Doctor Who, and he was talking about the Daleks, and he was talking about how something so how do I say generic, like something so cheesy, like exterminate, could actually be done so well in a show. And he said, if you haven't watched it, you have to watch it. And he said, in fact, go watch it. And I remember one student, he said, I have the excuse me, I have the DVDs. And so it was in my house. I remember like it was yesterday. It was in my house. We had a couple of friends of the classmates from that TV production, and we started watching it. And of course, we started watching it first. My first Doctor was the Ninth Doctor, and these were, we were in our 20. I was 21. We were in our 20s. We're still young adults, still kids, if you will, and we had at least me personally, I had no idea when I started watching that it was like a reboot, like it came from as far as the 1960s. I had no idea about that until later on. And for Russell T Davis bring a show like this, and not just bring back the old fans like they did with Noel, like they did with Lee, like they did with so many others, but to bring young adults to watch this show, that is something huge. That's something that it takes a lot of guts, takes a lot of talent to do, and not only props to him, but props to Christopher Eccleston here, because even though he played a more mature role, as in a guy like in his 40s, let's put it that way. He still brought in a lot of young people to watch this show. So I, in a way, that's why I disagree what what's his name, Cosmic, was trying to say here, because if he brought in old fans and new fans to watch his era or watch the 2005 Doctor Who, he can absolutely do it again. And I fall not just for the new Who fans, but also the 2005 Doctor Who fan. You know what I mean? Are you following me? What I'm trying to say? It's
Yeah.
gonna bring back the classic fans who've been watching it since the 70s, 80s, and also the ones who started watching it since Russell T. Davis and Moffat took over. So I really do believe that he can pull it off, and I'm happy enough if he ignores the Timeless Children, because he did the same thing for the movie. I mean, he ignored what happened in the movie and he kept on with the story. Just that to me is really enough. That to me is just saying, hey, it didn't happen. Let's just go on. That to me is enough. And the point is, remember that Russell said that he never had any thoughts of coming back to Doctor Who, right? They never did. He never did. So for him to come back is because he knows that I think yeah, it was who said this, that he wouldn't come back if he had control over the show. And they were, when I say they, BBC are begging or were begging for him to come back, because BBC knows that Doctor Who is the most that brings in money for the studio, and it's been sadly it's been failing. And look, everybody knows that I'm a huge Peter Capaldi fan, but I'm not going to deny, and it's heartbreaking for me to say this, that the views suffered. I can't pretend and say no. I'm not gonna spin it. I'm not gonna say, oh well, there's missing numbers, so you didn't count this and count down. Not like everybody does. It is heartbreaking. It really breaks my heart. I say that this view suffers, but it's not his fault. In this case, at least in this specific case, it's not his fault. The views have been failing, and it's actually really, really sad. I am not like celebrating. I'm not, it's sad because it's a show that we all love, and it hurts to see it this way.
Well, I'd have loved, the Sea Devils coming back. I should have been over the moon about that. The classic Who monster we haven't seen in decades, and the first time it's been in the new era. That should have been a really, really exciting thing, and I think you've summed it up perfectly, So, yeah.
The Sea Devils were never going to work, because he did an interview to say that he basically wrote this story and decided to throw them in, just like he did with the Captain Jack cameo and all of this Tasman stuff that's being shoehorned in. I'm not going to get into it, but
from was it Praxis or whatever?
They were supposed to be in series. Look, they were supposed to be in. They were supposed to be in Jodie Whittaker's 4th series, and then it didn't happen. Then they were rumored to be coming back for series 12, and then that never happened. So then he decides, then finally, I honestly do believe that the Sea Devils were supposed to be in this a lot sooner than what they were now. But the problem is that you had them shoehorned in. They didn't need, if you took the Sea Devils out actually and watched that story again, you don't need the Sea Devils in this episode. It's such a shame. Look, he didn't ruin them to a certain extent. They came out unscathed as far as and that's all I was hoping for.
They fly now.
Well, there was a big leap. It was a big leap, but I didn't like that. But I'm saying that they came out relatively unscathed. But look, the bottom line is, look, I know there are a lot of classic purists out there. I would be considered one myself. But you see, I can separate the two. They're two different versions of Doctor Who. You've got the classic, which is the original, and you've got New Who, which is a different and that's the way I've always looked at it.
I can like Classic Who. For me, Classic Who is my Doctor Who. Yeah. And I can separate that in a heartbeat from anything from New Who. And it has to be said. It's been a
Well, that's
struggle.
what I like about this this stream. We very much, I take it, Melina, you're very much with me, and New Who was our Doctor Who, but because of New Who, we fell in love with Classic Who.
Exactly, and that's
right. It made me go back to watching it.
So
whereas for us, it was Classic Who, and it was great to see the show back after what happened in the 80s. So we had that feeling that Doctor Who was coming back. So
I
for
think
you, I'm jealous.
It's important that we have New Who because otherwise Classic Who will die with us. And it's important that generations to come are exposed to some form of Doctor Who.
Exactly.
In order for them to go back and discover the joy of what we grew up with and to rediscover. And that's always been the best thing for me about New Who, is that it has brought in people who never knew about Doctor Who didn't have a doctor like that, and they've a lot of them found out about Classic Who through falling in love with this Doctor Who show that RTD brought, and then oh my god, this is whole, like Jack said, in private, he found out there was this whole other Doctor Who, and that was amazing, and so much more of it as well,
exactly,
and that's magic, what other show can make to have that?
That's what I mean. RTD's era was magic, and it took me. I don't think I ever really adjusted to Moffat's run because I think it was just so drastically different. I'd never.
Well, it was a soft
that
reboot,
change.
though, to a certain extent. He even said it himself that his era was a soft reboot. I mean, his fourth season is absolutely spectacular, Moffat's, and nobody, I think, will deny that his fourth season was actually brilliant.
Me,
but then,
sorry.
But then Moffat decided that he was just going to be over. He believed his own hype. That was the problem with Moffat. He started to believe his own hype.
I love Series 6 Part 1. Part 1. The other half, no.
Sharpening my mic chair there now.
I didn't say anything about Peter Capaldi's era.
No, I love Peter Capaldi as an actor. I love him as an actor.
I think people are too harsh on Series 8, 9, and 10. I actually like Capaldi's era. I would say I probably like Capaldi's era better than I like Matt Smith's era, to be quite honest with you. Even though, I think Matt himself elevated some of those scripts, and then Moffat did the same with, Capaldi did the same with some Moffat scripts as well and elevated them, but the Capaldi era is better than
his best story for me was World Enough in Time. I think that was not only a great Capaldi story, I think it was a great Cyberman story.
It's just a shame that the other half of that story didn't.
The second half wasn't so good, but it had some great moments, like the moments between Missy and and John Sims' master, and she stabs him in the back. Basically, I love that. I think that was
that was fantastic.
Well, that's typical master, isn't it?
I will just say though, go back and watch that story and look at the Cybermen chasing the Doctor, and one of them looks like he's having a whale of a time, just pretending to do the most. He's singing "Oh, the Grand Duke of York" while just stomping around, and it's so hilarious. You think?
I hope if the Cybermen, when the Cybermen come back, can we please stop with the stompy feet? The Cybermen never have stompy feet.
I want David Banks back to just come in and go, "We meet again, Doctor."
They need to be redesigned as well, because the new. I mean, don't get me wrong, Chibnall's redesign of them is actually not bad, but I want them to go back to a more classic style. Now, he did try do that to a kind of certain extent, Chibnall, with his Cybermen, but they're still not. For me, the New Who Cybermen are not really.
They look like toys.
But that's what they are. But that's exactly why they were created. The way they were created was to sell toys. Because look at the merchandise sales through 2005, even Jordan, the Stephen Moffat era, the toys were flying off the shelves. So I think there is, when they're designing some of these villains and monsters, there is that in mind. Well, can we actually sell these as toys?
I will say one thing about the Lumix Cybermen. I do think in Rise of Cybermen and Age of Steel, I do think they look frightening. I think it's that blackness that they have, that sort of, there's nothing in there. It's just a shell. I think they do have a kind of horror element about them.
Yeah, they're quite
That's just
imposing.
my-
They need to be more body horror creepy, and
Exactly.
they need to have that element of humanity still in there somewhere. You know,
Well, I
and
love
that's
the
what
cyber controller. You could see the brain.
Yeah,
You
I
know.
like all that. I like as Cosmic says, like men in silver suits. I like to think that in there is biological matter rather than that's too robotic and stompy.
Okay, so I think we're gonna wrap up soon because it's getting late and I'm worried of keeping my grandparents awake. But I think what I just we've pretty much summed up perfectly. Like we all just want the RTD era to go back to being fun Doctor Who. And what's nice is we've got as I said, me and Melina
as
are
well.
more of the younger generation, and we grew up with New Who. You guys got to experience both versions of the show and the wilderness years, which I heard was really fun. You had the books, you had the little fan-made things going on. Doctor Who was very much still in spirit around.
I think
and I'm-
BBC and everybody needs to realise, especially these New Who fans, is realise that without classic fans, you wouldn't have New Who. They're the ones that actually kept it alive during its wilderness years. And there's that. You know what I mean? That's why I find it quite a shame that these type of fans are being attacked because they don't like the current iteration. Look at if throughout Doctor Who's history, right, there's always been doctors that people haven't liked and doctors that people have liked. Jodie Whittaker is now different, right? But the difference is because she is a woman, right? They automatically think the other side that if we're criticizing, we're just criticizing because of our gender. No, criticism has always existed. When RTD cast Christopher Eccleston, RTD was sent death threats, right? When RTD cast David Tennant, many fans were saying, "Not that guy from Casanova." When they cast Matt Smith, people were saying, "Oh, he's too young to play the Doctor." When they cast Peter Capaldi, he was too old to play the Doctor. But as soon as we got to Jodie Whittaker's Doctor, you couldn't criticize at all. And that's the difference, right? And this is what fans need to understand. Even back in the classic era, when Troughton took over from Hartnell, fans were writing into the newspaper columns at the time saying, why are you hiring this clown for? That's exactly what he was called. What are you hiring this joker for? Right? And then look how that turned out. And it's the same with Pertwee took over. Some fans were complaining when he took over. And Tom Baker, until Tom Baker blew us all away. And then he was the level that every doctor had to reach then. Right? But to claim that nobody out there ever complained about a casting is a lie. There's always been throughout the history of the show
criticism as well.
Yeah.
You can't just change 50 years of
and
history.
I'm sure it will happen again when the next whoever.
It will happen again, especially if it's a bloke. Trust me, it's going to happen again. I've already told you.
But what
they're already trying to set up the narrative as well, saying, "Oh, they can't cast another man."
Let's just ignore all those idiots.
But I don't care. As soon as the announcement is made.
In terms of fans, I think let's all just be excited but also patient. If we see something we maybe go, "Oh, I'm not so sure about that at first," let's
I'm going
wait
to be
till we've
patient.
seen it.
I'm going to be patient because you have to be. You have to give RTD that chance. You cannot put the sins of Chibnall onto RTD. RTD is not responsible for what Chibnall done. RTD needs to be given a chance. Now, we did bring up the Timeless Children off air, and Lee brought up a point. There are some fans that still won't move on if it's not retconned, right? I'm going to be out straight with you. If a retcon's going to happen, it'll happen by Chris Chibnall, but I don't think he's even going to retcon it because I think he already knows that RTD is going to do his own thing. Mm-hmm. It's going to be like basically a reboot. Look at I highlighted words that were used by Piers Wenger when it was announced RTD was returning. He said, Doctor Who, a new generation of Doctor Who. New generation. That's the key word here. New generation. This is not going to be like Doctor Who that you've seen classic era or this new Who era, the format, that the way it's been. This is going to be a completely different show. The 60th anniversary is going to be nostalgia, right? And then everything that you've known and believed about the show after that is going to completely change. And this is what fans need to understand. There is no retcon going to be done by RTD, because RTD is just going to ignore what's happened and do his own thing. Now, apparently, if this is true, he's going to have his own universe. This universe that Whittaker is in is the original universe, and then RTD is going to do his own universe, and apparently he's going to start from the beginning, Doctor One. That's the rumor. Now,
right, I just
don't
want
think
to
that's
say,
true,
Noel, if
if
this does turn out to be true, I want to do a whole stream on this, actually. I want to get you on again, and I want to talk about, do we think this is a good idea, or do we think, oh no, the Doctors that me and Melina grew up with, that you all grew up with, they're going to end with this era that
something
isn't
radical
that
needs
great.
to happen. So everybody keeps saying something radical needs to happen for this show
Yeah.
to survive.
I don't know.
What's
I don't
radical?
think it needs to be radical. It just needs to be in a safe pair of hands. I don't think it. Look, the show reinvents itself over time anyway.
It does.
I don't think you need to fundamentally alter everything about it to make it better. You know, everyone talks about progressive as if progressive is a good thing. It just sometimes you progress off a cliff. It doesn't mean it's going anywhere. I'm saying that it really sometimes it just needs to understand what it is. It doesn't need to have pretensions to be anything else. It just needs to be good. It needs to be well written. It needs to move, yes, with the times, but not pandering to a certain trendy mindset. It just needs to appeal to a mass audience. It does need to be populist. I'm sorry. If you want to talk about diversity and inclusion, then you have to be diverse to everybody, inclusive of everybody, not just a subset. And you know, the numbers, like, you know, saying, oh, it's perfect editorially, it's inclusive and diverse more than it's ever been, and yet less people watch it. That is not true to what it claims to be at all. Yeah. And I'm not going to be here when the next Doctor is announced, and then the next show starts, the next season starts, and I'm not going to be online telling people to die of cancer like they told me to when I criticised Chibnall and Jodie Whittaker 5 years ago. And that animosity needs to go. That is anti what Doctor Who is about. It shouldn't have all these negative connotations. It shouldn't have a split fandom. Yes, it's been a divisive era. Yes, it's been sort of infested with activist politics and whatnot. But we need to get beyond that, and we need to think about what Doctor Who is, and forget about what it isn't. You know, we need to focus on what it is, and what it is a madman in a box who goes on these crazy time-space adventures. Hinchcliffe described the Doctor perfectly as an eccentric English gentleman in space, basically. You know, and I think that he was right. That's the character. There's nothing wrong with that character. You don't need to subvert that to make it interesting or to make it hip or inclusive or diverse. It's nonsense. You know, anyone can watch Doctor Who and love it. It doesn't matter where you're from in the world or who you are. It should be that character and those events. It doesn't matter. You don't need to see yourself on screen to enjoy something. That's
exactly, and that's the problem with this era, is the fact that it has done that. It's like these fans that are out there now. I mean, I'm talking about the Whittaker fans that jumped on when she became the Doctor. I think they don't understand. You see, there's more to it than that. The show, yes, the show should represent everybody, right? Fair enough. But there's a way of doing it. And the way Chibnall went about it is the wrong way. The way RTD went about it is the right way to do it. And this is why I'm excited for him coming back. The last word I would have to say is the fans out there that are still wondering whether they should support RTD or not. I would say give him time. Give him the chance, because he shouldn't be punished for what Chris Chibnall done. It'd be unfair on RTD after all he's given us, right? He brought this show back in 2004. He announced this show was coming back. And in 2005, he brought it back and it became a success again. We owe him at least one season to give him his due and see what happens. And if it's not to our liking and we don't like it, as I said, I'm not going to spend the next 3-4 years criticizing him. I will walk away this time. But I don't believe that he's going to go down this route. I believe he will write Doctor Who the way it should be written because
It's make or
he
break.
loves the show. It is make or break. You're absolutely right. It is make or break now, and I don't think they can afford to make any mistakes. Now, the casting is going to be a very important thing for a lot of fans out there, and that will be the first indicator of what we're going to get with RTD. And remember, that announcement is apparently a week and a half away. So let's hope it does happen. Let's hope it's a male Doctor. And then after that, then once it's a male Doctor, to me, that's the jigsaw in place. I don't care who the companion is, to be quite honest. Right? Once the Doctor is a bloke, and it has to be a bloke again, because believe it or not, bringing a man back in will reinvigorate the show. I can't believe I'm actually saying that, but that's the truth. That's the truth, because this era seems like, I don't know about you, Melina or Lee and Jack, but this era to me feels like it's gone on for more than 5 years. It's gone on for nearly
feels like forever.
Yeah.
And Noel, you know something? To be honest, I've been suffering, as I don't know how you can say, but for 2 years, and it feels like 5 years. Because I say 2 years because just in case anybody knows, I started really watching the Whittaker and Chibnall era during quarantine. That was in 2020. So it's right. It just passed 2 years around March. Because I think it was March. Yeah, I think that's when I got HBO Max. So, it's been 2 years for me, but it feels so much longer. It really has. And I can't imagine the people who have been suffering or whatever for 5 years, like most of you. So it's and listen, this is not something like I said before. Like I don't wake up saying, okay, finding ways to hate this era, finding ways to hate this the writing style and everything about it. I don't do that. I absolutely, I mean, there are people who actually said, hey, at first I didn't like Jodie Whittaker, but you know what, I started like her. I'm like, man, I wish I could be like that, because I did give it a chance, and I started giving it a chance in Flux, and it's, I mean, I liked it better than for me personally, a personal opinion, I liked it better than series 11 and 12. And
I agree with you. I thought Flux was an improvement, but it still had those Chris Chibnall tropes and mistakes. But I do agree with you. I think Flux was better than series 11 and 12, but I think the damage was already done in series 11. Look, we look forward to the future with some optimism, as Lee said earlier backstage. That's what I feel. I'm optimistic, cautiously, because even though I do believe that he is the right man and he can pull off the same trick a second time, the show, believe it or not, there's a difference. The show wasn't on when he brought it back. There was a big space, and then he could bring it back, and the memories of the 80s kind of, were in the background. This is recent, what's happened now, and he's bringing it back now. And the ratings keep going down no matter what Chibs does. Look, I mean, he's literally pandering to the Taz stands now, and it's still not bringing in the ratings. So RTD, I'm under no illusion that his job is going to be harder than it was in 2005. But if anybody can do it, it is him. And the reason why I say it is because you just have to look at what he did from 2005 to 2000 and, what was it, 10, 11, because he did the specials, he dragged them out. But he had a good 5-year run. And he did well. Was it perfect? No, of course it wasn't. No showrunner will ever get anything perfect. But compared to Moffat and Chibnall, he's a god, in my opinion. He's the GOAT, in my opinion. If Terrence Dicks was still around, oh Jesus Christ, I would love him seriously to be part of it. But unfortunately, we don't. But I have heard something that is quite disturbing, though, and I will say this. Apparently, Chris Chibnall, RTD, has taken some of the production team with him. Now, apparently it's people that he believes actually did good things with the Chibnall era, But as I said, I don't know what you panelled before we finish up, but I said a clean slate needed to happen here, and it looks like a clean slate isn't going to happen. So I don't know what you think about that, if that rumour
All I will
is
say
true.
is that, as we discussed earlier, I'm not sure if I was recording or not, but when we discussed, certain people seem to work better under his guidance. So I think in terms of that, we just really need to wait and see. I will say, whoever wrote Town of Angels, was it?
Yeah.
I'll say under Russell's guidance, I think that could have been a brilliant story. I think
agree.
out of the whole Chibnall era, I think that was my favourite.
Wasn't that Maxine Alderton again?
I'm not sure.
I think it was Maxine Alderton. Her and Pete Matig, in my opinion, were the two that I would have brought with me. And if they are the two, then fine, fair enough. But if he's brought anybody else, I'm... Look, but at the end of the day, we'll see. I'm still going to give him a chance. He's getting one season. And if it's good, then I'm on board. If it's not, I'm walking away. I'm done. There's no more to be said, really.
Right. Okay, I'm very sorry, guys. I do have to wrap up now. So
no problem.
I just want to say a big thank you to all of you for coming on. Melina, thank you. I know you're struggling with illness at the moment, and you did such a great job. The points you mentioned were fantastic, and thanks for doing it again. Sorry about all that being unrecorded. Lee, thank you. You've been great as always. And Noel, first time on my channel, thank you. I owe you so much, and I hope you can see that Noel isn't what a lot of people make him out to be. He is a fan, he has opinions, and he's done a lot of good for me and a lot of good for other people. So just as I've said, guys, if you like the Jodie Whittaker era, that's fantastic,
exactly.
But we're talking about the Russell era, the upcoming Russell era. We all want it to be good. I want it to reignite my love and my passion for the show. Everyone does, so fingers crossed he can deliver on that. So before we finish, do you want to plug anything, or any last things remarks you want to make, or anything?
Give RTD your support, folks. That's all I really have to say. I mean, there's nowhere to catch me anyway. I don't need to shout on my channel, but give RTD your support. He deserves at least one season from us, no matter what Chibs does. I do think it would be unfair to punish him for past mistakes.
The sins of the father.
Exactly, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So just support RTD. Let's see where he takes the show, and if it's somewhere where we can all get behind it, all well and good. And if it's not our cup of tea, well, then I will have to move on, and will be, because look, I've been very emotionally invested, and it's really I've gotten emotional over this era quite a bit. But I won't be going through it again if it's not my cup of tea. I can't do it anymore. So I'll walk away, but I am willing to give him a season to see where he brings it. But give him your support, please, folks. That's what I would say, because
absolutely,
we want the show to be a success.
I follow him on Instagram. He's seems like such a down to earth and nice guy. He posts a lot of picture of his forehead. It's hilarious. So he just says to me, what kind of person he is. He's fun. He loves the show, and I think we all have a lot to be excited for, regardless of where you are on the spectrum of fandom. I think we all have a lot to be excited for. So thanks ever so much for tuning in, guys. We managed to have 9 people watching at some point. I understand some of you might have been my toy viewers and gone, what the heck is this? But thanks for tuning in all the same, and thank you to PD Rich and Cosmic Yog Sothoth of Dunwich. I'm sorry, I can't.
I love that name. It's bonkers. I bet it's a Discordian or something. You're a Discordian Cosmic Yog.
And Logic Blaster, thanks for being here as well. And a big thank you once again to Melina, Lee, and Noel. You guys have been brilliant. Thanks for doing this. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, guys, so you can join the Warren. Stay safe and happy wherever you are in the world, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Apple pie.